Thank you for tuning in. To get to the point fast enough, no introduction maybe. This is probably the weirdest game you would see from a Grandmaster. I played a Grandmaster. This game is there's some things you would see you probably have never seen before. Just enjoy the ride and enjoy the game, right? I mean, nothing much to say except just watch it and see what happened. So E4, this guy is like closing in, like 2800, closing in 2000. So obviously, and a grandmaster, so does have a lot of experience. So E4, you guys are probably used to see like me playing knight H6, knight A6, all the goodies, right? All the good stuff. Things are getting intense at this point. So the next move is shocking. We just play F5. No knight H6, no knight A6. We tried the gambit early on. This is a gambit, and I don't think it works. The problem that this gambit is a problem. You don't want to sacrifice a pawn like this near your king. This is like a pawn near your king. I mean, how exactly are you going to castle, for example? This is a grandmaster. He knows how to handle this kind of stuff. So this is not a wise decision in general. There's a lot of gambits I could play. This one's a little bit too much. So he replied by this move. And the next move is also more crazy. Supposedly, things are getting really like delusional at this point. So the next move is here. And you look at this and you tell yourself, well, d5 makes sense. You know, maybe you want to take back on f5. But the problem is here, this queen h5. You know, this is already feels like terrible. I mean, I'm not sure if you play G6. If we open up the computer, the game is already done, pretty much. This is +2 before we begin the game. +2 before we begin the game. It's probably a lot more than that, of course. So I mean, it's probably +3, 4. It's already lost. I don't think there's any disagreement that this is not lost. If you play G6, the game is already like this issue. You cannot take back. You lose a rook. You play here, you lose this check. You lose the knight. And if you started to dance the king dance, you play king d7. Black is not castled, already lost a pawn at f5 or sack, whatever you want to call it, and it's not like a practical choice to play. Whether you play this 1-0 or whatever time control, is probably not a good idea to play this at all. I end up playing d5, but here's the issue. My opponent played here. You look at this move and you tell yourself, what is going on? I mean, this is supposedly queen h5. You don't play knight f3. So the problem with this move, that queen h5 is just should have been the best move by far, right? The issue is this pawn is takeable now. So I was like, I could have took the pawn. I did not take the pawn. The game is just feels like it's goofing off between two friends, not know anything about the game. But you look at this knight f6, it feels like bishop takes f5 could have been a move, but obviously knight f6. He plays d4, and here's just, I could take the pawn. It's still, maybe here, if anything, we open up the computer again, it's maybe plus 0.7. Obviously, white still have something going, but now I'm no longer like losing a pawn, and I could somehow castle, right? So, but for white not to take an advantage on queen h5, it just feels a little bit too strange. So he played bishop d3. This move is perfect because obviously, should you trade, it does give some weaknesses, and he would, around d squares. I mean, black is already like have some major issues to solve here. So I played queen c8. He could have took here and queen takes, but he castles, and I simply played g6 and rook e1. So the point of g6 is basically I want to play bishop g7 and castle somehow, sometimes this year. But obviously he played bishop g7. He played c3, knight c6. Nobody's taking this bishop. Not him, not me. So at this point, he played bishop f4 and I castled. So I looked at this position, telling myself, "Well, I made some improvements. Supposedly you should have lost the game in move two. Now, like we have some kind of a game, right?" So he took queen takes. I am not sure if taking here is actually a wise idea now. I mean, it's probably still good for white, but the point is, when you take this way, the bishop is under attack, so he may have to lose like a turn. Maybe the computer is maybe not really. I mean, still winning. The reason this is still winning for white because this move could happen, right? And he took. So look at this. I'm just down a pawn. So we are back to the issue that I dropped the pawn at f5. So he actually took the pawn at c7. So I'm down a pawn at this point. So I played knight e4. With the point is to try to get some activity like g5, g4, some kind of a dream that I might be like attacking. Not going to attack anytime soon, not now and not the next 20 years. But trying, and he went back. Supposedly the bishop did a job, took the pawn, went back. Excellent job. So I played e5, assuming that I have something going. Maybe he would take with the knight. I mean, I'm assuming if he takes with the knight, there's maybe takes here, queen takes f2, b2 is under attack. So he took this way, and I took here, assuming that this is still like active. But the next move is actually kind of surprising. I did not see he would take this way. It's a shack. So you look over here, then I have to, I have to move, and then he takes back. We have it's 3 pawns, right? So if we do the counting, it's 3 pawns that I'm down at this point. I'm sacking 3 pawns against a grandmaster, so this is supposed to be like a problem. Maybe I could get one back, but it's just difficult to hold, right? So I play rook d8, trying to get activity. Feels like this is like some kind of a gambit that I'm experimenting, but obviously it's just too much to play for. I mean, looks like white is just winning. So he played here. He's still keeping an eye on this pawn. I can still take on e5. I took. By the way, you don't want to like risk taking this right away because this is the only way that black could come back in the game. And because if you were to go for this one, there's actually here, and I might take. So he played queen takes again. So I took back the pawn. You notice he took back on b7. So I'm still like it's 3 pawns versus like looks like a good amount of pawns. Looks like 10 to me though. Overwhelming of pawns here. So obviously here rook b8. I'm trying to get 1 pawn back. So he played queen b4, which is a good move. Supposedly, if you up 1 pawn, you trade. So how about if you up to like 3? I mean, maybe he could be up 2, but it's okay, good enough. And they happens to be like a passers, right? Potential passers. So I took the queen, and I took here, and I took here. So that's a big achievement still, like by black. Assuming it's an achievement. So instead of 3 pawns, it becomes like 2. It's still the only issue, but maybe white has in this position is like the knight is not moving. He's not moving the knight, so therefore the rook is also stuck on e1. So he played here, and I was like, okay, we play active rooks. So my next move was here. I don't think this move works for me anyway, because if, let's say, to give you a move here, let's say white goes for this kind of stuff, and I play here, going for the knight, there's actually rook check, and you do have to give up your bishop, and let's say this happens, he could allow me to take, and I'm just losing additional pawns, and, it just feels like I'm gifting all these pawns. So he could take back here, if I were to take back on b1, it's not enough. It's a lot going on that it just doesn't work for me. So this happens. He played here, but this is a little bit surprising. Maybe he has a ways to defend. The computer is giving 93. Supposedly here 93 is the only move. I mean, he still maybe should be winning, I suppose. But then it looks like, bishop takes c3. If we open up the computer again, it's still like maybe here he has some kind of rook c1, that he has to get active now, get active rooks. And he has a game on, right? So he played this move. And if we open up if we open up the computer here, this move is like, we are now equal. And there's a reason why this move is equal. So the reason is for this move. Rook takes f2, and we are like square one. Bishop takes rook. You know, from me down 3 pawns to me to be like equal at this point, that's like completely, not really practical from a grandmaster perspective here. This is also an issue. This is not really clear who's doing what. These pawns, the way they are landing that way, it could be a draw here, but obviously this is shouldn't be a draw. It should be like, black should have lost the game like 50 years ago, right? But anyways, this happens. Rook belongs to the seventh rank. That's true, but the position is completely unclear. It's not clear who's doing what. It's probably heading toward a draw, surprisingly. He played here. I felt like this move is okay, but nothing serious happening because now the situation is getting really complicated. Because I actually could take a2, and I have. This position is no longer clear if white is actually doing anything to like win the game. This is an outsider pass pawn. It also happens to be that the bishop is on the diagonal that for the promotion. So if somehow black able to trade the rooks, or stop moving the pawn, black would eventually like find a way to win the game. So I took this pawn. I know during the game I was like a little bit shocked to see like this kind of performance from Grandmaster. He has some time. He's able to stop all these ideas, right? But he just, gave me all these pawns back, right? So it's a little bit strange. I mean, maybe one or two mistakes or three mistakes, but he cannot really go for like this kind of performance. Sometimes people could be tired, to be honest. I mean, I play when I'm tired, and sometimes I could play that kind of stuff, and so, but it just feels like the opening is a little bit too much, right? Like the opening that I played. Anyways, G4 happened, and this move is also very not up to the task for this move. Because now I could create a pass pawn. So we may both have a pass pawn. I mean, you may, like, let's say you take, and he take, so he may have the F pawn, I have the H pawn, but I have two going forward, right? Not just one. So he played knight e4. I was not sure where he's going. Like, I know that knight f6 is not happening. This bishop takes. In these kind of positions, like if this, let's say this bishop is on a light square, like it's on here, there's always like knight f6, and you could like, deliver a mate or find a way to draw the game. The bishop is covering all these major squares, so I didn't feel like knight e4 is really like anything exceptional about it. So I just pushed the pawn. So I was like basically pass pawn should be pushed, right? So he played this move, and also this move feels like not really needed for the next move. Like here, any kind of trade, if I'm able to do it, it would only favor black. But I'm not really going to take one of the pieces here. I mean, if he gets, I mean, if he blunders, yes, this is like a shack if he's not really careful. So he has to play here to give a check first, and then I have to step in. But it almost feels like black also benefit from that move because the king is also getting active, right? My king could get active, um, and he still have to defend this move. So he instead of him going to e4, he felt like he was already on e4 before, so he doesn't want to repeat the move. So he went back here defending. It's questionable. Maybe he has to play back in 94. So I played check, he plays here, and I played check, and then I played g5. Not entirely sure if g5 is practical move. So I was looking for ways to stop like him from getting active with the knight. Like I kind of restricted the knight to come to f4, for example. So I checked. He played here. There's not what much the rook is doing here, to be honest. It looks like my rook is maybe slightly active. So now when you have pass pawns, you pushed. I pushed the h4 pawn. Now it's the time for this one. This is more serious, right? You can see the bishop is more supporting the promotion. Should we just move the pawn, right? So even if he goes behind the pass pawn, it's not that clear that he could stop it, right? I mean, it should just be like easy from there. So he plays king e2. I checked again. There's also like time pressure going on, so I was trying to gain some checks to see how I could effectively make my plan, move the pawn, to come up with a plan, I mean. So he played this move, but this is also feels like this is not needed. There's a reason why this move is not needed for the next move. So I was talking about like if you could exchange, if you're able to exchange, that should favor black. But here's the situation though. The bishop maybe is needed to support the pawn, but if you go to this situation, this forces a trade. Like you cannot really go here or here because you lose a piece, right? I mean, if you go here, you just lose a piece, right? You don't take with the rook though. I mean, you could, but you could actually play like that. But the point is, you don't want to lose a piece. If you want to hang on to the piece, that's always good, of course. So that means he's left with one choice, and that one choice is to take, right? But the problem is here. I mean, if we open up the computer, it's losing. It is losing here. It's not just simply a draw. The reason it's losing, these pass pawns are moving and they cannot be stopped. So the rook could stop one, may not necessarily stop the other one. So there's no way he could really find a way to do so. Like he could check, and I moved the king, I check, I started going back to like attack the rook. I'm heading toward here, supposedly. So he played king e4. Maybe he was going here, perhaps try to create something. Then I checked, and then he went here, which makes sense in a way because maybe he could create something. And but I believe this is still winning. I don't think it's like, oh, actually here might be a draw. So it's a mistake. Supposedly this push. So that's maybe a mistake here. The reason it's a mistake because he maybe start checking me, and it's not easy. Like, how could I, find a way to like stop? I mean, if you just give you a couple moves here, check here, and king e8, and then check again, then here, and then maybe he could play rook h8. The point is, maybe he could take here. The rook is actually behind the pawn, so the pawn is stuck once you play a3, for example. Like you could play king g5, and then he's looking at king takes or something, and then goes behind the pass pawn. So he's a little bit fast. So this rook blocks access to the pawn going to e2. So supposedly here, all I have to do is like push the pawn, because once it goes to e2, the other pawns start moving. He cannot really stop both pawns that way. And the king is being cut off, so the king cannot really goes here because the rook is on e2. So there was a need for the rook to stay here as well to cut off the king. It doesn't matter if he wins g5, because these pawns are the winnable ones, the ones that gonna promote, right? So I did not do this move. I played here. Again, I'm in time trouble, 16 seconds, so sometimes you may not play the best move. So he checked and went back here, and then he took the pawn. But this is actually a mistake, because now we are back to the issue that he cannot really stop the two pass pawns, even though the rook is blocking access to this pawn for now. But after h2, this is like a slow plan, right? I think it's still winning, to be honest. I mean, I don't think it's really, yeah, it's winning all across. So he played f4, I played here, and then f5, and then you could see the pawns are unstoppable. It's actually clear here, because if you stop one here, you cannot stop the other one. I mean, once you play here, you just promote. So you cannot really stop. So his best chance is to try to push, and, not sure what he's going to do. So e2 and king g6, and supposedly here as a queen. I mean, he could check, which he did. The fun part that I played here, and he played this move. And I actually forgot that this is hanging, but I played the next move here, which is still winning for me. If you promote, he takes back, and then I queen again. 10 seconds left, but he pushed here, and then I took, and he resigned here because he knew that I could, find a way to like promote. 9 seconds here is enough to mate, right? Maybe he could play one move. I mean, supposedly, if you play like something like here, and let's say this way, that would have been a stalemate, right? That would have been a stalemate. So maybe he could have went for that move. I mean, I would probably go for this one, just to give him the room to go here. It's funny that even he did not go for this move. I mean, he may be like not really happy throughout the game, and it just felt like it doesn't matter. But I felt like this promotion should have just happened, and see what happened. Maybe it's a draw after all. It's a very strange game. We do have a game like this with f5. it's I just didn't believe that this is really possible that he could play like f5. I know I'm a strong believer that opening doesn't mean anything, but there are certain openings when it comes to gambits you may just cannot play it. Like you just lose a pawn, your opponent would find the right moves. Especially this gambit, it's just not good enough to like hold. Especially when it comes to grandmaster, somebody who's closing into 2800, a grandmaster that have an experience with a lot of positions, and maybe he's tired. But again, it just feels like really a strange game to lose. I figured that this game belongs to YouTube, and you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you by the next video. Maybe more strange games coming. Maybe, who knows? Thank you for tuning in, folks.